entrance to Gehinnom, this level called Gay.
The
And
entrance
the
to
people,
hell.
and the people who are there, they all know kashafim. They all know magic, bechachmas, and wisdoms. So the people in this level of the underworld are very technologically advanced, and they're advanced in their knowledge of sorcery.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Aliens, UFOs, demons. Is this all the stuff of crazy conspiracy theories? In the last few years, we've had a number of bizarre incidents, recorded incidents. The US government has recently acknowledged back in 2021 the existence of aliens. There were some incidents in Nevada, also in Miami, where strange sightings, strange anomalies were spotted. And in one case, the police actually witnessed some strange sightings of UFOs, and this was reported by the mainstream media. Now, with all of this craziness that's been happening, is there a biblical origin to all of this, to UFOs, to demons, and all these other weird and strange and bizarre anomalies? To help us, I have invited a very special guest. He is not just a so-called conspiracy theorist, he also happens to be a rabbi and a researcher. Rabbi Yehoishophot Oliver, welcome and thank you for
Shalom.
joining us.
Pleasure.
Now, I wanted to ask you, let's just by way of introduction, how did a rabbi, an ultra-Orthodox rabbi, get into what would be termed as conspiracy theories? Crazy conspiracy theories by most people.
Well, I just always like to find out the truth of things that are going on in the world, and do my own research to discover what that might be. And a number of years ago, I came across claims about 9/11, and I looked into that, and I found that that was believable and proven that 9/11 was an inside job. And then I just went down the rabbit hole from there and researched various such topics.
Was that right after the 9/11 incident? What year was that?
Oh no, when did I discover that? Many years later, maybe like, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, something like that.
Okay, so prior to that, you believed in the official narrative.
Well, I just didn't have any reason to doubt it. Yeah, I just had never come across in my normie life doubts about that issue. So it never occurred to me. But as soon as I came across it, I was interested and I investigated it further.
And when you say that you went down the rabbit hole, so does that mean that you started to question everything?
Well, everything about our modern world, all the um, sacred cows, all the accepted beliefs of the modern secular world, um, I began to question and listen to what various so-called conspiracy researchers had to say. I didn't accept all of their claims, but I think many of their claims have very good arguments to support them.
And when COVID came along, because you said 6 years ago is when you started to question and do your own research. When COVID came along, did that hit you by surprise?
Not at all. In fact, I had been speaking about 9/11 for years by then with people, and I was convinced that if they got away with 9/11, they would try to do something far more uh, major, far more dramatic. And therefore, people need to be aware of 9/11 so that then they would be protected, they would be armed so that they wouldn't fall for whatever future big lie the government would put out.
And I notice I've been following you for a while on your social media. You're quite passionate about vaccines, and not just the schmovid, mRNA, witch's brew potions, whatever they are, but you're also quite passionate and well researched into the so-called mainstream vaccines, particularly that they've been given to children, the childhood's schedule, the MMR vaccines. How did you get started on that? Was that at the same time that you started to question 9/11?
I think I'd vaguely heard about it before, but yeah, one conspiracy theory leads to another. I had not really been exposed to that material. I remember one person telling me that he opposed mandatory vaccines, and that came as a shock to me, like many years ago. But it just, I didn't. It just wasn't on my radar. It wasn't something that I had encountered. So it really, the breakthrough was with 9/11, and then that led to all the other things, all the other issues. I recall before COVID, hearing conspiracy thinkers warn that they wanted to go from mandatory so-called vaccines for children to ones for adults as well. And that was going to be the next step. And so therefore, when COVID happened, I really wasn't at all surprised that they were going to push through some kind of mandatory vaccine.
It's quite clever, that term conspiracy theory. I mean, we all know this is not new to our audience. They're all well-researched people, the people that are watching this show tonight. The term conspiracy theorist was coined by the CIA, used to gaslight people. But in your opinion, so obviously this stuff is dismissed by the intelligence agencies, by their lapdogs in the mainstream media and the government as crazy, bogus stuff. But in your opinion, is all of this information, where is it coming from? Is it coming from whistleblowers? What's the origin, the source of a lot of this information?
Well, you have to sift through it. Obviously, you can't just believe any claim you hear. You have to listen to multiple testimonies. You have to check the credibility of the witnesses. No one is claiming that you should just accept any wild allegation on its face. So I think many of these sources are credible, and we should just be open to sources that challenge any mainstream narrative, especially one that creates fear in the public and enables the government to have more control over the people.
Now, this is an interesting segue into why you're here, and you've done quite a lot of research as well in preparation for this podcast, so I thank you for that. Over the decades, we've heard a lot of bizarre theories about the existence of aliens, of UFOs, of all these weird entities, demons. What's making this more bizarre, it's taking on a more bizarre dimension, that up until recently, this was all on the fringes. But now the US government has officially acknowledged, or appears to have officially acknowledged, the existence of UFOs. The mainstream media is reporting on UFO sightings. And in one particular incident, I believe it was in Nevada, the mainstream media reported eyewitness testimony of police officers, serving police officers in Nevada, who had witnessed strange entities in someone's backyard. So my question to you is, one, because you alluded to this before, you mentioned that governments are trying to put fear into people. Now that the government's acknowledging this, or supposedly acknowledging this, what is their motive here? What do you think there's their motive? Obviously, one can only speculate.
Well, firstly, I don't claim like some advanced level of knowledge. There are people who have researched UFOs their entire lives and are professionals, and it's a really vast topic. And there are so many sightings. You could, in many lifetimes, you can never research them all. But just from my limited research and understanding, so I think it is a real phenomenon, and these people are not just hallucinating and imagining things. And they're observing something that's real. But the question is, what phenomenon exactly are they observing? And then a separate question is, what is the government's interest in hiding it? And what is the government's interest in no longer hiding it? So, look, many people are familiar with the work of Dr. Stephen Greer. He makes many wild claims, but one of the things he says, which is credible to me, is that the government, while this phenomenon is a real phenomenon, the government has created its own aircraft that mimic real UFOs in order to use this true phenomenon for whatever psychological warfare purposes they may have. So a particular sighting may be a sighting of a true being, which we'll discuss soon what I think that phenomenon might be. But it might also be a sort of simulation of a true phenomenon in order to trick people for some ulterior motive, some malicious agenda that the government might have. And so the government, either they create events, dramatic events to scare people or to control people, or they take advantage of existing ones that happen regardless and spin them in order to use them for their agenda. So either way, they want to control the narrative and they want to use whatever happens to promote their agenda. So that's
And are you referring to, it seems like you're referring to what I've heard through the grapevine, Operation Bluebeam. Do you know much about that?
I mean, yeah, that's a program to simulate dramatic events through using what's it called, hologram type images to create the appearance of UFOs or whatever they want to appear, which is now public technology, because there's like stadiums where now people can see this spectacle. So they've been able to do that for a long time. Only recently has the technology been revealed. Many UFO researchers and other conspiracy thinkers, they say that the government is hiding technology that is decades more advanced than what we have access to. And any technology that is viewed by us as new is in fact old technology that they're just releasing to us now. And they are always far ahead, and they allow what for them is very old technology to be released when it suits their purposes. So So yeah, they're hiding. I believe this is accurate. They're hiding advanced propulsion systems. They're hiding uh, craft that can fly insanely fast, and that would appear to us as something that must, can't possibly be human.
That's really interesting because at the end of World War II, a number of Allied fighter pilots witnessed strange anomalies in the German sky. Strange, what they would see craft that would fly very fast, defy the laws of physics. And a
The
lot
Foo
of this,
Fighters,
that's right, a lot of these craft were disc-shaped
yeah,
craft that were apparently, allegedly developed by the Nazi German scientists at the very end of the war.
yeah.
Now, let's go into why you're here, the main part of the sandwich, the meat of the sandwich. So the origins of all of this craziness, of these strange anomalies, of these sightings. You say that they're real, but the government is also making fake, holograms, etc., to trick people. But in terms of these anomalies, the UFOs, what are they? What are we at? What do you think we're actually dealing with based on your knowledge? What are these entities?
This meant to be clear, not only are they able to simulate the appearance of it through hologram technology, but also through craft that fly at fantastic speeds that to us would appear that they can't possibly be human. So what are they? So I believe they are not extraterrestrial. They are not from some other planet. This whole narrative that other stars have planets that rotate around them, and that there are other solar systems, and that we're just one solar system among, you know, billions, trillions of solar systems. So I don't think that that's correct. That doesn't fit with the Torah, and it could be true, but we don't have any basis in Torah that I'm aware of to say that. And really, this claim is speculation. They obviously haven't observed. They claim to have seen planets revolving around faraway stars, but it's not like they actually saw it. They saw some light that they interpreted to mean that. And it's really based on our bias coming from the very modern secular mentality that basically humankind doesn't matter so much because there's an enormous universe. We're just a tiny speck in one galaxy among many galaxies that came to exist out of nothing in one big explosion. So it's all related to the theory of evolution and atheism. And, as an Orthodox Jew, I reject that whole premise. God did not, God does exist. God created the world. And we are the beings that matter. God created us as the center of the universe. And everything around us that we observe, all the stars and constellations, they exist to serve us, and we are the main characters of the universe. Not only in our world, our physical world that we observe, we can see the stars and what have you, but also in higher spiritual worlds, according to the teachings of the Kabbalah, all the higher spiritual worlds also only exist for our sake. And so this whole concept of aliens is a very modern concept that people did not think of when people were not atheistic. They had different concepts for beings that are not human, which were basically aliens and demons. And sorry, I mean angels and demons. So what people once called by those names today, because they're starting with the premise of atheism, so they don't think in terms of spiritual concepts like angels and demons. So therefore, when they hear any such reports, they view it in a materialistic, naturalistic, secular way, and therefore they will interpret those same with those same testimonies as some kind of must have been some kind of extraterrestrial being, some kind of alien from some other planet, because those are the terms that they can relate to, also because of the influence of science fiction literature and movies.
It's really interesting because I think the origin of the whole UFO, when it became really popular, was in the 1950s around the Roswell incident.
Roswell.
That's right, in America. And
New
that's when we
Mexico.
started seeing these pictures, these images of these weird creatures with small bodies and big heads and strange eyes, these humanoid type of creatures. But what you're saying is really interesting. You're saying this is all part of an agenda to condition people to be atheists and society to be atheistic.
Well, there has definitely been such an agenda, but people don't realize it. It's so much permeated our society that the average person doesn't question the premise. The theory of evolution is drummed into children from when they're little kids, that the world just developed out of nothing all on its own. And so therefore that's their belief system. And they don't question it. And they view any religion as, weird and primitive and silly.
And tell us more about what you found in your research as related to the Bible and the Torah. And feel free also, if you would like, it's up to you to present on the screen and share screens.
Yeah, screen. Well, I have a bunch of Hebrew text, but I don't think that will really
That's okay.
um um hmm, let me see. All right, we'll go through how do you share screen? Share screen. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Are you with me? Can you see what I see?
I can't actually. Let me just see if I multiple. Let me just change the settings. You should be able to share. Try sharing now. Technical difficulties. Here we go. I can see a white screen.
All right.
So this is
This
a
is,
text in Aramaic in the Zohar, which is
yes.
a few over 2,500 years old, this text. And it's
Well,
written in Aramaic.
it's a tradition that it came from the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but it wasn't revealed until much later on. So this is a section from the Zohar, and here there's in this neat
Could you
website.
give our audience just a really quick summary of what the Zohar is?
The Zohar is a central Kabbalistic text, which is traditionally was authored by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but it wasn't revealed or known until many centuries later through the Kabbalist Rabbi Moshe de Leon. Anyway, it is written in Aramaic, and it is the foundation of all the Kabbalah that we have today. Almost all. There are one or two earlier texts, but you have the Sefer Yetzirah and some other texts, but they're very, very brief. The Zohar is a very large text that is, contains the secrets. So in this edition, we have a neat feature where you can flip between the Hebrew and Aramaic. So since I'm better at the Hebrew, I'm going to start with I'm going to read from the Hebrew. So I believe that aliens are in fact demons. And there is a Zohar that discusses beings that are inner earth beings. Now, there are many sources in Judaism that discuss demons and discuss angels and discuss inner earth beings. And so this is just going to be one source to get a bit of understanding of the concept. So it says that there are 7 heavens, and corresponding to those 7 heavens, there are 7 levels under the earth, inner earth dimensions, and they're exactly parallel. So I have another. I've got here 3 volumes of the Zohar. It discusses this in like 4 or 5 different places in the Zohar at least. It's called the 7 lands, the 7 under inner earth lands, dimensions. And I've got 3 volumes here, and I've got this on the screen. So so the names of the lands are Eretz, Adama, Arka, Gay, Nashia, Tzia, Tevel. And so it says that just as there are seven heavens, and there are beings in those 7 heavens, and we would call them angels. It describes them as having as being different, like different species of beings in the 7 heavens. Some of them have 4 wings, some of them have 6 wings, some of them have different numbers of heads. So too, there are various beings, different creatures, different species in the inner earth. So we might call those beings in the heavens, we might call them angels. There have been many testimonies of people describing beings like this. And it speaks about how some of them are primarily water and some of them primarily fire. And they exist in this higher spiritual, the higher heavens. And it also gives the names of the 7 heavens. I won't go through it. And it says that the heavens are like the peels of an onion. So it's a level within a level within a level. And then it also says that the levels of the inner earth are also like peels within an onion. So worlds within worlds within worlds. But it emphasizes that our world is the main one. So in general, this topic is very interesting, but we shouldn't get distracted our world, our dimension is the main dimension. In any case, it focuses on how the number 7 has tremendous significance for God's creation. God created 7, everything in sevens. He created 7 heavens, 7 levels of the inner earth. He created 7 seas, 7 rivers, 7 days of the week. He created the 7 years of the Shemitah cycle. He created the concept that there's 7 times 7, and then there's the Yovel, the 50th year. And there's also 7 millennia in which the world is said to exist. And, we're now in the 6th millennium. So God creates his world in 7. And that's because our world comes from the Sephirot, the divine emanations in the higher spiritual world of Atzilus, which there are seven emotional Sephiros, which are the source of the lower worlds. So in any case, everything is numbered in 7. And then he goes on to say, the Zohar goes on to say that there are 7 lands down here. And it says also that there are 7 continents. Now, I don't know how exactly you calculate the continents, but and some people suggest that there was a continent that sank. Do you say Asia and Europe is one continent, or do you count them as separate? So you have North America, South America, Australia, Oceania together, and then you have Antarctica, if you said that that's a continent. So I don't know the exact, and then Africa. In any case, so 7 continents, and he says that the 7 continents also contain different races of people, and it basically says that the races of people in the 7 continents and the nature of the 7 continents also parallels the 7 inner earth levels. So in any case, so he says, okay, so I'll read from here. So Sidur Shel Olam, the arrangement of the world, is B'Sheva Ksharim Agalgalim, in 7 circular knots. Sheva Arot is 7 lands, Hain, there are, Zulam Alam is the one above the other. Just like the 7 Rikim, the 7 heavens, one above the other. Okay, then it lists the names, and the highest one is called Tevel. So the 7 levels, and we live in the level called Tevel. Tevel means, I don't know, the settled place. Okay. So then this next piece, he says, when Adam left Gan Eden, he left the Garden of Eden, he was banished from there. So he fell to the lowest land, which is called Eretz, the lowest of the 7 levels. And this is a dark place. She'ein sham er klum. There is no light over there. V'lo mashamish klum. It doesn't serve any purpose. Once he entered there, he was very afraid. And it speaks in the scripture how there was this fiery sword, Lat Hachev HaMisapechas. So this fiery sword was in this lowest level that he was, and basically this experience of being in this dark place with this fiery sword near him caused him to repent. And this happened on the 6th day of creation, right after he sinned, soon after he was created. So then God raised him up to the level called Adama. That is a higher level. Like it says, it's the next level above the lowest one. Shekosov, it says God sent him from Gan Eden Lavis Adama to serve the Adama. So normally that means the earth, but here, or the soil, but here he interprets it to mean the next level up within the inner earth. And over there, Bazu, on this level, Yesh Oshame, there's light that shines, and there's the appearance of stars and constellations. So it says that just as there are 7 lands, each of these lands has, except the lowest one, has its stars and constellations. It has a sky within this inner earth. Okay. So then he continues. Over there are tziyurim, there are forms of higher beings. Gvarim, men, which came forth from Adam. During the 130 years, so it says that Adam, when he was expelled from the Garden of Eden, he went to this underworld, this inner earth area, and he copulated with female demons. And he produced these creatures, these beings that are these inner earth beings from those relations that he had. So he continues to describe these beings that he created. They're always sad. They don't have joy. So I find this very significant. He says they go out and they fly around in this world. These beings that exist in the inner world, they come out and they fly around in our world. And they turn to a bad side, and then they return to their place. So yeah.
I wonder how they fly around. Do they fly around in strange disc shapes?
So it doesn't discuss that. It just says that they fly around. So, that would be a theory that to me would explain things that we observe. And so he says, in this place, in this level, this second lowest level called Adama, that's where B'makom, in this place, Noldu Cain v'Hevel. Cain and Abel were born into this level. Once Cain sinned, so God lowered him to the lowest level, Eris, just like God had previously lowered Adam.
So just to stop you there, when Adam, the first man, sinned with the fruit, the apple, well, it's debatable what he ate. Some say it wasn't an apple, but he separated from Eve. Is that correct? And
yes, he separated from Eve, and he was banished to this underworld, and he copulated with these female demons, and he created these underworld beings.
Now, by the time Cain and Abel were born, obviously he reunited with Eve at this point, obviously.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to give our audience some context.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So he had been separated from her for 130 years, and then he came back to her. So then it says that Cain was also banished to this level, and he also, once he experienced the terrible experience of Eretz, then he was elevated to the level above it called Adama as well, just like Adam. And then he wandered around the world, and so over here, he was afraid and he had thoughts of repentance, and God elevated him to the level called Arka amongst these 7 levels. That's one of the levels, Arka. Which number is it? It is Yeah, anyway, it's one of the higher levels, and there's a story that that these two rabbis were sitting on a rock, and they were approached by a man. He says he was from the underworld, from a place called Arka, and there are beings there. There's people living there, and so this is one of the levels. So he was wandering there, and okay, next page. All the people there are in on the level called Arka. They are descendants of Cain, and they have two heads, right? So that parallels the angels in the higher worlds, some of which have two heads. Some of them are tall, and some of them are short. They do not have complete knowledge like humans have. They are sometimes righteous, and they're sometimes wicked, and they give birth and they die like other people.
Does that mean
So
that they
then
have free choice like humans? They're sometimes righteous, sometimes wicked.
it implies that, yeah. So there seems to be a bit of a fuzzy differentiation that these beings under the earth, are they human? They're descendants of human. They're the hybrid of Adam and demons, female demons. So they're in some kind of intermediate level, apparently. Not quite human, not quite fully demons. They're definitely not human as we know it. So then it says that Adam gave birth to Seth, and then he was elevated to our world, and from then on he continued humanity from there. Anyway, so it goes on describing these various levels, and one of them is called Gay, Nashia, and Sia. And it says that the over there were scattered the people who did who built the tower. So this also, it says in the Talmud, I have the source, but it says that those who built the tower were punished, and some of them were turned into monkeys. So it says that monkeys are the product of the punishment of some of those who committed that sin, the sin of building the tower. So
it's
monkeys
kind of like the opposite of Charles Darwin's theory.
Exactly, yeah. Monkeys used to be people, and God demoted them as a punishment. And then it says that other people who built the tower were punished by being turned into spirits and demons. So that would kind of fit with this source in the Zohar, which says that those who built the tower were banished to this place.
So we're talking about the Tower of Babylon, just for our audience.
Yes. Because they angered God, and all right, the next source. And then it says here, there's a place called Gay. Gay means a valley, also known as Gay Ben Hinnom. So what we would call Gay Hinnom. So Gay Hinnom as I understand, is both a spiritual level, but it's also a physical level. So it's a spiritual higher world, but also exists within this underworld. So
this is what mainstream people, the world would term in English languages term as hell.
yes,
Gehenna, hell.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it says that there on this level is the entrance to Gehenna, this level called Gay,
The
and
entrance
the
to hell.
people, yeah, and the people who are there, they all know kashafim, they all know magic, bechachmas, and wisdoms. So the people in this level of the underworld are very technologically advanced, and they're advanced in their knowledge of sorcery. So this really
this is at
completely
the
fits.
entrance of hell, not in hell itself, but at the entrance.
Right. It's like it's a domain where where Gehenna is found, and there are beings there, and they over there they sow and they plant trees, but they do not have wheat or one of the 7 kinds of grain. So yeah, it emphasizes that there's no bread and grain except on any level except our world. In any case, I find this significant that it emphasizes that the beings on this level have magic and they have wisdoms. So, there's been a lot of talk about how it claims of how alien craft have been recovered and that they are being used and being back engineered to discover advanced technology. So this is just a theory that this would be consistent with that claim.
With this ancient text.
Mm-hmm. Now this is awesome. The next level it speaks about is called Nashia, another level of the underworld, and it says over there are Bnei Adam Katuim Katanim. They're short, sort of very short people. V'ein lahem chatamim, and they do not have nostrils. Rak shnei nekavim, only 2 holes. Sheyetzim bahem ruach, from which the breath goes out.
Familiar description.
This is the classic description of greys. The
Mm.
gray aliens are described like this as being very short and not having proper nostrils. Okay, and then the next level over here it speaks about is called Sia, the place of thirst, the parched land. Sham Pnei Adam Yofim Lamara. Over there are beings that are very handsome, very beautiful. And then it says, sometimes sometimes they come up to our world, which is, as we said, is called Tevel. They are more trustworthy. It implies that the other creatures are it said earlier that they do bad things. Some of them do go in an evil way, whereas these ones, the ones that are handsome, they are trustworthy.
So when they say handsome, so beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So I'm assuming that these are human-like creatures.
It does imply that. So let me just finish. So it says that they come up to our world, and among them there are diurim, there are dwellings, tovim, there are like very good dwellings, very well-developed dwellings, for Osharav and great wealth, and Chukasam Libnei Adam Shalkan, they yearn for the people in our world. So this would fit with the reports, the testimonies of beings which look which have a human-like appearance and are called the Nordic aliens. So they're definitely much more handsome looking in the way they're described than the Greys. And so these are at least the two species that have some similarity with two notable alien species that are described by witnesses.
So I've never heard of the Nordic aliens. I've heard about the Greys. I think they're the classic caricatures of what a stereotypical caricature of what a UFO might look like. But I haven't heard of that Nordic variation of aliens. It's something that I guess I'd need to look into.
There's definitely lots of such reports. Okay, so that's it for this. That's it for this source. And it says that our world is the main world, and it also says that there are parallels of these levels in all of in our world. So the implication is that the various races under the earth have parallels to races in the seven races in the seven continents. You know, I'm not going to speculate as to what exactly that might correspond to, but it's speaking about these beings who, number one, they fly around on the earth sometimes, and they some of them have great wisdom and sort of black magic and technology, and they sometimes come to the earth and do bad things, and they in general they don't belong in our world. They belong in their realm, but they sometimes appear in our realm. And so I think these sources you know, provide a significant explanation for these phenomena, and we don't need to suggest that they come from planets in outer space, which has never been proven. And I mean, it can't really be proven. I mean, you know, show us the proof. Now, obviously, everything here is not proof either. It's based on a rabbinic tradition, but it's certainly not less. It's certainly more than something which pretends to be science, but is complete speculation. This claim that, oh well, if there's life on our Earth, so then there must be life elsewhere as well, because we can't be the only ones. No, we believe that yes, God created us as the center of the universe, and the stars, they don't exist to be hosts for planets and beings on those planets. They exist as the channels for the spiritual channels for the blessings that come down to us. So according to Judaism, the concept of astrology is a valid concept. God, which means that God gives the flow of blessings that come down into the world. They come through the angels in the higher spiritual realms, through the stars and the constellations, and down to each person. And our life is affected by the positions of the stars. Now we still have free choice, but our luck, the word in Hebrew for luck is mazel, which means a constellation, because our luck, in other words, our lot, is related to the constellations. Meaning not that they have control. The constellations and the angels above them, and the Sephiros, the divine emanations above them, they are all merely channels for the divine blessing, and only God is in control. just like someone uses a tool to accomplish a purpose. He uses an axe to chop a tree. The axe has no free will. It is a tool being used for a purpose, and the only entity that is in control is the person who's wielding the axe. So, too, God uses these various levels of channels for the divine blessings to come down to us. So the stars and the constellations, they do have a purpose, according to Judaism. Their purpose is to serve as the channels for the blessings that come to our world. But the main setting is our world. There's no other place with other beings like us that have the purpose that we have. There are, yes, there are these inner earth beings, but they are also that we described at length. They're also secondary. We here on our world, we are the main characters. This is where it's at. Everything else is, firstly, there's no proof for the kind of pure speculation that there exists some kind of life on some distant, galaxy or what have you. And aside from that, even the other beings that do exist, the angels and the demons and the spirits, they're all secondary. The main location that God wanted, the reason he created everything, all the higher spiritual worlds, it says in the Kabbalah and Hasidic teachings, was for the sake of our physical world, that we should serve God in our world.
That's really interesting. And so the whole, which is the opposite of, I guess, what a lot of people, or more so the elite, when they push the UFO theory, they try to detach people from God and from religion. So which is the exact opposite of what you said. Now, let me ask you this. I've got a couple of follow-up questions. I don't expect you to know the answer to the first question that I'm going to ask, but there's been a lot of talk about reptilians. Is there any reference to reptilians in scripture at all? Where do reptilians come into the picture?
Yeah, I haven't come across that species, but there are many accounts of many bizarre creatures that do have a basis according to Judaism. One of them is the Talmud talks about mermen and mermaids, these beings whose upper half is a human and bottom half is a fish. And there are werewolves. And there are just all kinds of various creatures. So the fact that I haven't encountered it yet doesn't prove that it doesn't exist in the rabbinic literature somewhere.
There's quite a few theories. I guess this is popular in the alternative truther circles about shape-shifting reptilians and how a lot of the elites are actually shape-shifting reptilians in disguise. But I think it's interesting because, with all this talk about reptilians, that the original sin was associated with a reptile. It was the primordial serpent that convinced Adam and Eve to sin. And I think that's really interesting. I'm not sure if there is or isn't a connection to the reptilian theory, but something just to put out there as a thought. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
What are my thoughts on that? Yes, I do have thoughts on that. I believe, and there are sources to say that there are beings that walk around that are in fact not real humans. They are what we would call in the Kabbalistic language kalipos. They're essentially demons, and not everyone who you meet is a real person. Some people are demons in human appearance. Yes, I definitely believe that could be the case, and that there are stories that support that that can send you.
And you mentioned all of these creatures that live in the underworld in all these different levels. What are they exactly? Are they humanoid type creatures? Are they demons? Because you mentioned in one case that some of them are evil, some of them are good. What are
Right.
these entities? Is there a connection to demons?
So yes, I think it's because it says that they came through they're a hybrid of Adam who copulated with the female demons.
Right.
So that means
Yeah.
they are somewhere in between demons and people. And the word in Hebrew for demon is shade, which means comes from the word shidud, which means destroyed, because demons typically dwell in a um, a place that is desolate. They don't typically dwell in settled places. They dwell in desolate places. And the other name for demons in Hebrew is mazik. It says that God created right before the Sabbath on the sixth day of creation. God created various things. And one of them was the mazikim, which means the creatures
Damages.
that cause harm.
Mm.
And so that's another characteristic of the demons, that they are defined by their trait of causing harm. And there's also a source in the Talmud that says that in the tractate Chagiga, it says there are 6 things that it says about demons. In 3 ways, they're like angels, and in 3 ways, they're like humans. They're like angels because they have wings. Um, they're they're like angels because they fly from one end of the earth to the other. So again, we see how they fly, and also they know the future like angels. And it explains when it says they know the future, it doesn't mean they know the distant future. It means they know the short-term future. And then it says in 3 ways they are similar to humans. They eat and drink like humans, they multiply like humans, and they die like humans. So what does it mean that they multiply like humans? Animals also multiply. So on the other hand, it means it's contrasting them with angels. Angels do not multiply, do not reproduce. But one explanation is that that animals reproduce, they don't reproduce face to face. They do it from behind. So it's explained that that demons reproduce face to face. In any case, and they die like humans, whereas angels do not die. So they're basically, they're a species that is hidden, and they're intermediary. The Ramchal explains that they're an intermediary between. I mean, it's basically clear in the Talmud where it says they have 3 qualities like animals, 3 qualities like humans, and 3 qualities like angels. So they're in between humans and angels. They're somewhat spiritual and they're somewhat physical in their traits.
That's really fascinating. And Rabbi Oliver, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience? You've got a lot of fascinating information. You've done a lot of great research.
Well, the main thing is that this is all really an intellectual topic that is fascinating, but what God wants from us is to focus on the good deeds, the righteous acts that we can do. Our purpose is not to worry about the underworld. or the angels. Our purpose is to worry about how we can do good in our personal lives. These are interesting topics, and the Torah speaks about them, so we should be knowledgeable about God's creations and therefore know the greatness of God, but we shouldn't get distracted by that from our own personal mission. And in general, that's something that the elites want to do. They want to distract us. They certainly want to indoctrinate people with atheism. There is a theory that the science fiction, the emphasis on science fiction themes in literature and in movies is on purpose in order to bring people to believe in this whole secular model of the universe. Even though people don't believe in aliens, they believe in everything about the secular media comes to indoctrinate the viewer with the idea that his life doesn't truly have a purpose. Or if anything, the purpose is just to indulge, to be hedonistic, and we're just a meaningless. Our life is meaningless because our existence is meaningless because we're just one speck of dust in an infinitely vast universe. So we need to focus on the exact opposite, which is that our personal lives are of the utmost importance, and every deed that we can do matters. It matters to our fulfill our personal mission, and it matters in terms of contributing to the world and society. And God put us here for a reason, and every moment of life that we have to use to the utmost to serve God and to help others. And we should focus on that and not give in to this propaganda that our lives don't matter, and we don't have any real purpose, and therefore just, just watch TV or what have you, just waste your life with nonsense. And so that would be my message.
And just one other thing that I would like to ask. All of this is coming to the fore, all of this, these weird anomalies, all these bizarre stories and incidents of all of these entities. So we have one theory, obviously the government's trying to, has some kind of an agenda, but is there also a spiritual meaning to this? I hear a lot that we're in the end times. Are we in the end times? Well, what does that mean?
Yeah, we're in according to many great holy sages, we are in the last era before the coming of the Mashiach, the final redemption, the Messiah. And yes, it is, I think it is valid to say that before the Mashiach comes, there are many deeper spiritual truths that come to light. So people who weren't aware of, who sort of lived in the mainstream society, are coming to realize, often against their will, that that narrative is not true, and they're coming to look deeper. Obviously, they're coming to look deeper at the government and see that the government is not their benefactor, but the opposite. But also the whole nature of our society, which emphasizes hedonism and consumerism, that doesn't matter. What matters is the good deeds that we can do, building a family, helping your community, growing in your good character traits. Those are the things that truly matter. And I think that this phenomenon of deeper, any time that some deeper reality is coming to the fore, the reason is to draw people's attention to the fact that the externalities of our world are not real, and there are deeper things going on. But ultimately, the true deeper reality, beyond all hidden realities, is the reality of the existence of God, the one God who creates everything and created us with a purpose and created everything with a purpose. And that's what we should be focused on.
And Rabbi, how do people find you?
I guess on Facebook.
Yep, so that I'll put a description in. Are you on Rumble? Do you have any other channels or any other platforms, Telegram?
Not really. No.
Okay, so Facebook is the main place. Do you have a blog that you regularly post to?
Not really, no.
Okay, so Facebook. Excellent. Well, Rabbi Oliver, it's been an honor and a pleasure. You've shared a lot of fascinating insights with our audience. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you very much, Leon.
Thank you.